Hey guys, I've got some storage out in the garage that I love. I want to show it to you and show you how to build it. I love it because it's above the garage door. So it utilizes what I call dead space. It's easy to build. You can build it for $150 or less. And that includes painting it. I'm going to show you step by step in this video to make it very simple. You should be able to watch each step and do it yourself. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I want to talk about what tools you're going to need and what material you're going to need to do this project. First off, you're going to need a skill saw. You can use a battery operated one or a regular 110. Or if you don't have this and you don't want to spend the money, you can go buy the old handsaw. It'll work. It takes a little bit more effort, take you a little bit longer, but it will work, save you a little bit of money. You are going to have a drill. For two reasons. You're going to have to drill holes in the 2x4s, and you're going to have to use it to insert your screws to fasten the 2x4s together and to the wall, so you do need one. Obviously you need a pencil, measuring tape, speed square. Any type of square will work. You don't have to have a square, you can do it without it. And then the screw, this is a 6 by 1 5/8, will work great to fasten down your plywood or your OSB to the 2x4s. It's a Phillips head, 1 5/8 long, and you need a number 2 screw tip for your screw gun, which will go into here. This one is a screw, it's 3.5 inches long. This one is to fasten the 2x4s together, and we'll use it to fasten it to the wall. It has a star tip, so make sure you get a star tip that fits this in here, and this will also be used inside here to fasten it. You'll also need a drill bit. Pick a drill bit that's a little bit bigger than your screw. Not much, just a hair bigger, and eventually you will use this to drill holes, and I'll talk more about this later. This is a little 90-degree angle bracket. You can pick it up at any hardware store. A couple inches long is fine. You can get a little bit longer if you want. I got 4 of them. And to paint, I got just a plastic insert. Yeah, you can buy a pen and insert this into it. I just bought this, most inexpensive way to go. I bought a cheap paintbrush. And your paint, this will come with your paint. Bought the most inexpensive gloss paint that they had. This was actually on sale. And you can buy a roller, you don't really need it. You can paint it all with a paintbrush. You're going to need 5 2x4s, 8 feet long, and you can, I have sawhorses. You can do this without sawhorses, so you don't have to go out and buy them. You can do it on the floor of the garage or out in the driveway, it's fine. And then the particle board, you just need 1 sheet. I bought 2 because I'm going to extend the shelf. I can show you more about that later. But you just need 1 4x8 sheet of OSB board, 7/16 of an inch thick, which will work just fine. If you can find something a little bit less inexpensive, they had a sale on this today at the lumber yard, so I picked it up. You can go thicker. You can go 1/2 inch, you can go 3/4. I would go the lightest because we're suspended it in the air. So 7/16 OSB board should be very inexpensive, and it will work great. Okay, let's start building. The very next step is to determine how big and where we want it. Obviously we want it in the corner for 2 reasons. It gives you 2 walls to fasten to, so it will be able to carry more weight. And we want to utilize as much of this OSB, which is 4x8, as we can. So the first thing we need to do is measure and see how far over it is to the bracket. This will tell us how long we want to cut the plywood. So we measure from this wall over, and around 92.5 inches is long enough. It's going to put it a little bit away from here, which is good. So let's do that next. So whatever we measured up here, we want to measure on the plywood. So whatever length that you pick, just measure it and make a mark. Do it on both sides of the plywood. So make a mark here And here, make a mark. For a straight edge, because I'm not using a chalk line, and you really don't need to go buy one, a chalk line, I'm taking one of the 2x4s I bought, place it directly on the line on both sides, here and here, and just mark it. There's your mark. Now you're ready to get the skill saw and cut it off. Okay, got that cut. Next thing you want to do is cut 2 of your 2x4s the same length as the plywood. To the board, I want to show you something here. If you don't have a square, you can use a 2x4. So I've made a mark here already, and you just line up the 2x4 here and put it on the mark and make a mark like that. That acts as your square. I've made 2 marks because I need 2 2x4s. Okay, the next thing I want to do is make some marks on the plywood, and the reason is I want to pre-drill the OS board. I keep calling it plywood, but it's OSB board. I want to pre-drill holes in the OSB board so that I can fasten the 2x4s to it. And I want to make marks so it will help me locate where to put the holes, to pre-drill the holes. So again, you just put the 2x4 up like this. You mark it flush with the outside. And you just mark it around. Just mark it on the inside. The next thing I want to do is make marks on where the screws will go. So I think if you put a screw like every 12 inches and just put a mark. So every 12 inches, put a mark. And this is where your screws will go. About 12 inches apart is plenty for this. And do this all the way around. So what this does is this line shows where the 2x4 will be. This mark will show you where the screw is, so you're going to put it right in the center. So what we're going to do is pre-drill it. And I didn't mention this earlier, but you need a drill bit a little bit bigger than your screw. And then just take this and right in the center on your mark, just put a hole. Drill a hole in each one of these. Doesn't have to be exact, somewhere in the center. I got all the holes drilled, and the next step is to screw the 2x4s together. We're going to use this long screw, and you can see that we will run it through here and how far it's going to go into this wood, which is really good. The first step to do is put your 2x4s up like this. Go ahead and lay them up and then make a little mark. You can see, so that right here it's going to be here, and then take the 2x4 and lay it flat. So we want a hole, one at the top. We want 3, center, and about right here. We're going to pre-drill it. And again, this drill bit is a little bit bigger than this screw. So let's pre-drill it. You've got to make sure that when you're drilling that you're square, that you don't go at an angle. Make sure you don't go at an angle and that it's straight down. Okay, so do that on all 4 corners, and then we'll be off to our next step. Next step is put the screws in. So best way to do that, we pre-drill our holes, line your 2x4s up here, make sure they're in line. Stick your screw in as much as it will go. Take your screw gun and make sure it's flush. And that's as far as you have to go. Once the screw goes inside the wood just a little bit, that's as far as you have to go. Got all the 2x4s at the corners screwed together. The next step is to fasten the OSB board to the 2x4s. We just want to put a few screws in for now to prepare us for our next step. Okay, got the OSB board tacked down or screwed down to the 2x4s. I didn't put all the screws in for now. It'll be easier to do that after we flip this over. But for now, what we want to do is put a center 2x4 in here for more support. So I want to measure that. And then after we get this 2x4 in, we'll put a couple in here for more support. I got all the boards in around the perimeter. I got the center one in. Now we need to put these cross boards in for more support. I went ahead, as you can see, and drilled the 3 holes for this one. So I'll put this in first, and then I will screw this in. But then I need to put this board in. And so what I did was drilled a hole at an angle over here on this side, and the screw will run in at an angle and catch it, and you can see how much of the screw will go into the wood. So I drilled 2 holes at an angle on this side, and then 1 on this side, and then that I can put another one at an angle here for added support. But I think the 3 holes at an angle to support this board will be more than enough. Okay, we're ready for the next step, and we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to determine the location. Obviously, we're going to put this in the corner, but we need to figure out how high or how low we want to put it. And we need to talk about how to find the studs inside the wall that you're going to fasten this to, which is the critical part of all this. So for the height, I'm noticing that we can't, this is the highest point here. So we can't get below this point here. So just measure off the ceiling down to it. It looks like 21.5 inches. You don't want to measure off the floor to lay this out, to determine your height, because a lot of garage floors, they slope. Your ceiling should be relatively level. So first thing you want to do, again, we have 21.5 inches, should clear this. So go to the corner and measure down 21.5 and make a couple of marks, which I've already made one. The next one, being that your shelf is about 4 feet wide, right here's 4 feet. Go ahead and measure down here. And let's make this 21.5 inches. And then your third mark, the third place to make a mark is here at the end of it. Measure down and 21.5 inches. Okay, the next thing we need to do is determine where the studs are in the wall, which is where what you're going to fasten to. And this part's really important. Most walls in a garage, you can see a little indentation. And the indention is where they use a nail or a screw to fasten the drywall to the studs. And I can see here there's a little indention. So I'll put a little mark on the indention. And most studs are either 16 inches apart or 24 inches apart. Chances are in your garage they're 16 inches apart. So get your screw gun and one of the short screws. Let me get my ladder. On your mark here, and here's your mark for where this is the bottom of the shelf. Go ahead and put a screw in to the wall. I can tell on that screw that it did hit a stud, so that's good. Let me show you if you miss the stud, what will happen. Over here, and you put a screw, and the screw just spins real easy, then you know that you missed the stud. You don't want to use that. So from here, let's measure 16 inches from there and put a mark and double check this. So from that screw that did hit the stud, let's go over, put a mark at 16 inches. Let's get one of the screws and let's just check it, because it's really important that we hit that stud. Here. We did hit a stud, so that tells me that from here we should be able to go 16 inches each way, put a mark, 16 inches this way, put a mark, and that's where your studs are in the wall. I've got all the marks on the wall for where the studs were, and I actually came back and ran a screw in each one to make sure that I hit the stud. You can see here that this one missed, like I was showing you in the last clip. This one did hit the stud, so put a circle around it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to know where to drill holes in our platform so that our screws hit the studs. One way you can do this is measure. You need to measure from the corner of the wall to your first mark. This one's 6 3/4. This one's 22 7/8, and just write it down all the way down. This one is 38 7/8, and do that with all your marks, going both ways, going this way, and do it going this way. And I didn't mention also, you can buy stud locators at hardware stores or Lowe's, Home Depot, anywhere like that, and it will show you where the studs are. But this is one way to do it. It's inexpensive, and usually you can find the studs. I've got all the numbers written down, which tells us where the studs are. So our next step is to transfer it over to our platform. So the first mark is 6 3/4. The next one's 22 7/8. So what you do is you measure from the very end, and the first one is 6 3/4. The next one is 22 7/8. The next one is 38 7/8. Thing you want to do is take your speed square and just transfer these to the inside, and I'll show you why the inside and not the outside in a minute. Okay, I've got all the lines drawn, and now we're really ready to drill holes in the 2x4s. Grab your drill bit, the one that's a little bit bigger than the big screw, and I want to show you something here. From the top of your line, just go down a little bit, hold your drill gun straight, and drill a hole. For your bottom hole, put your drill gun all the way down and pick it up just a little bit and drill a hole. And all you have to do is do that on all the way around where you have drawings, where you have your lines drawn, and should be in good shape. Okay, our next step is to build this vertical support brace here. We're going to do the same thing over here. Let me show you what I did. I've made some marks on the ceiling. The first thing you want to do is measure from the wall out, ever how long your platform is, make a mark, and then from this wall out, and make another mark, which is going to be, let me show you, this point right here. The second thing you want to do is locate your ceiling joist. That's what you're going to fasten to. And I did the same thing on the ceiling like I did the wall. I was able to see little indentions. So what I did is I got my screw, and I ran in here, and I was able to hit it. So the screws hit here and they hit here. So that's good. That's real important, especially on this one. This board, I went ahead and cut it. It will go here, which crosses your two ceiling joists, which is really good. And I went ahead and drilled holes, 3 holes in each one on each side. This next board will go here. One thing that I wanted to do, and when we get ready to install this, I went ahead and put these blocks below your line, and when we set the shelf, the platform, it will rest on here temporarily. And I put 2 blocks, one there, one here, to rest this on. And I wanted to put one here, but this is in the way, so I used one of the angles that I have, and I just fastened it. You can see I fastened it to the wall, and our shelf will set on this, our platform will set on this temporarily until we can get everything fastened. I've decided to go ahead and add another brace. We have one here, but I want to put one on this side. This shelf has been great, but I have, as you can see, light things up there. This shelf won't hold heavy weight, so make sure you don't put anything heavy up there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the board that will go and span across your 2 ceiling joists. And then originally I was going to put this one, and I'm still going to add this one, but I want to add one more, and it will go here. So I will have 2 2x4s on the corner, which is going to give a little bit more support, and I'll show you how to do that. The first step is to determine the location of where you want your board, and then you put this, I drilled 3 holes, as you can see here, with this board like this, and take your long screw, get your star tip, long screw, and screw this together. Next thing we want to do, here's where the little clip angles come in, and we want to put those on the inside here, just like this, and this gives it added support. And use the your short screws, and you don't pre-drill it or anything. Okay, the bracket is built. I've got the little brackets in here, which is really good. And the next step is to go ahead and install this. I went ahead and put the screws in, makes it easier. And so let's do that next. Painted, put together. Next step is to install it. Okay, we're all done. It went really good. Took us a couple of days to do this. You can do it over the weekend. I hope the video helped. I tried to show it step by step so that just about anybody can do this. I love it, again, because it's above the garage door, it's above the car. And while I was building this one, I went ahead and built this one also. It's the same process. Just take a sheet of plywood, cut it in half, which gives you a 2 foot by 8 foot shelf. I lowered it down a little bit lower, but on this one I've put really light items up here. You can reinforce it with your vertical support. You can put more in there and put more weight up there, but be careful. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you out in this process. So see you in the next video. Thanks.